I am Captain Logan, and this is day 277 of Spawn Year. Am I Captain Logan, or am I Captain Spawn? Perhaps I'm both, depending on the occasion. My incentive for working my way through these daily entries has always been returning home to my real life. I have to remind myself that this existence is not, cannot be permanent. I am Captain Logan. Yet in order to sustain this existence, I must also embrace the mad role I have been cast in here, the grotesque demon warrior, Captain Spawn. I cannot fully choose between them, but by the end of today's comic, Covenant has made his choice of identity. He chooses to believe Dumas when he says Covenant died for good, and what came back to Earth is a wholly new creature. Like The Amazing Spider-Man or Casino Royale, Spawn is a rebooted, newly imagined Covenant, with echoes of the original, but in spirit, something unique. Not a perfect metaphor, given that fictional properties don't go to hell before something takes their place. Well, I suppose some do. And one could argue whether Spawn is an improvement over the original or not, just like with franchise reboots. I take it back. It is the perfect metaphor, but this strikes me as a strange moment for Covenant to pronounce his new identity as Spawn. It's pretty forced and comes off as an excuse for a big unwarranted dramatic beat to end off a comic with. It's like because Dumas calls him Spawn and he's never been referred to in precisely that way before, and because Dumas has the technical know-how to blow stuff up, he must be right, and this question of identity is one of literal fact rather than something existential and open to interpretation. After all, regardless of who or what he returned as, Covenant has lost that which made him worth anything as a soldier to Hell's army, his necroplasm. That had him concerned about the nature of his existence earlier in this very issue, and Dumas even called him possibly the first of his kind. So why, after Dumas dies, does Covenant choose to label himself based on one side of his nature over the other? Dumas says Covenant has another name and reveals it. Again, like indisputable fact, Spawn. I guess there was no chance it'd be Ben or Jerry or Padfoot or Clarence. I'd like to read about a foreboding and intimidating Spawn whose original name was Clarence. Spawn or Clarence? There's an easier identity crisis to deal with based on name alone. It's odd Spawn trusts everything Dumas says. I mean, sure, he's traveled the world, been to alien lands, the likes of which Covenant has never seen, and he's got herbs that ease Covenant's wounds. That doesn't mean he's right about matters of the supernatural. He could just be some lying Dumas. So anyway, he helps Covenant redefine himself and then sadly dies from an affliction of the bones. His skeleton is caving in on itself, and despite his understanding of science, there's nothing he can do about it. I liked this character despite only knowing him for 2 issues and despite how mysterious his background remains, and I would have enjoyed more time to see his and Covenant's rapport develop. For a man Covenant learned so much from, or was totally gullible and just assumed he learned from, he's less than respectful in the way he lays his friend to rest. The narration explains that Spawn goes against Dumas' wishes, and instead of burying him underground, he builds him a makeshift tomb. No explanation why. What a strange and awkward detail. And it all but ruins an otherwise sad and kinda touching moment. And as Spawn's friend is expiring, our warrior lady Raven has found Gareth and is helping to nurse him back to health. He guides her through an old pagan healing ritual involving his tasting dirt and his own wounds. Yuck. It works like a charm. I hope nobody ever borrows their home remedies from fictional comics set in the 1300s. I didn't expect this subplot to convert so quickly. So far, Raven seems to just be here to aid Gareth in his new quest to right what he now feels was a great wrong in taking Spawn's necroplasm. He wants to take it back from the Catholics he couldn't protect it from and return it to Spawn. Raven's also here because every Dark Ages story needs a knockout fighter chick. She's still surprisingly fully clothed from head to toe, and I bet a 2-liter of Mountain Dew that won't last. Raven is looking for an honorable fight and wants to go up against the Beast of Ryle, but Gareth says there is no beast save Spawn, and that he's just an unsuspecting pawn in a game between two cosmic petty entities that don't deserve to be worshipped as gods, and Spawn isn't her enemy. So the beast is a lie, as Gareth suggests. Was it Spawn who unintentionally slayed his subjects after all? And is this mystery really compelling enough to be dragged out so long? Gareth is getting a little more interesting, and I like that this no longer reads like pagans are perfect, altruistic wisdom heads, and anybody who buys into God is an ignorant simpleton. True, in this universe, God certainly isn't what he says he is, and probably attracts the gullible, but I'm glad Gareth isn't without his own faults. He underestimated these new gods and overestimated his own importance. In his desperation to preserve his way of life, because this is about resistance to change before it's about my God is better than your God, Gareth made a bad situation a lot worse by letting the necroplasm fall into Heaven's hands. Now things aren't so black and white to Gareth. With the necroplasm, Covenant, a being of free will, has the potential to help his fellow man. It in the lap of Hell's equally ruthless, equally self-serving enemy spells disaster. A decent issue overall. And now, should I sign this entry Captain Logan or Captain Spawn? For I must embrace both personas to survive. Well, today I write and not fight. And so today, I suppose I am still Captain Logan.